Good. Good evening, everyone. Time is 6 o'clock. We're going to call this meeting to order. First things first is approval of the agenda. Recommendation is that the agenda for the council meeting of September 2nd, 2025 be approved as presented. Can I get a mover and seconder? Deputy Mayor Kirkby, Councillor Young, all in favor? Carried, thank you. We do have regrets tonight from Councillor Ray Young, and Councillor McConnell is coming online at some point tonight. So next step is declaration of interest. Any declarations of interest or conflicts of interest? Seeing none, we'll move on. We don't have a presentation or delegations tonight, so we're going to go through the minutes of the previous council meeting. The recommendation is that the council minutes dated August 11th, 2025 be accepted as presented. Can I get a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Campbell, Councillor Burton. Any questions or errors or omissions on the minutes? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried, thank you. No communications and petitions. 8 is consent reports. The recommendation is that all items listed under the consent report section of the agenda be accepted as presented. Is there anything in the consent information package that anyone wants to pull out for the next meeting? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, mover and seconder. Yeah. Councillor Burton and Deputy Mayor Kirkby. Now I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried, thank you. No committee reports. Mayor report will go nice and short and sweet. In the last few weeks, I attended a Walker House. They had a nice luncheon there and was well attended. I think probably more than 60 people. It was their tea. So that was very well done, and lots of good turnout, lots of good conversation, lots of nice hats. Mr. Armstrong and I attended AMO. At AMO, I attended 2 delegations. We attended a few different breakout sessions, and we're also, we saw messages from all 4 party leaders. They were all there. And there was quite a few exhibitors there, different than other years. I mean, you get your pens and your bouncy balls and all that, but there were some interesting vendors there, and a couple of ones that we talked to and stuff like that. But it was a little bit out of our price range. They had a more permanent porta potty that looked very good. Until we asked the price, and they said it was $100,000. So we're like, oh, okay, and that's not for our community. So anyway, it was well attended. It's a little spread out in Ottawa, but they did a really nice job. We finished the Sunday night concert series. We finished the St. Lawrence Shakespeare as well as the community event. It was very well done. I attended along with Deputy Mayor Kirkby, the Leo documentary last week. It was very well attended. There was close to 200 people there. Mitchell McCarty Jansman was the producer, a local boy, never played in the Leo. Well, I found that quite interesting, you know. Most kids have all played in that. No, I shouldn't say most kids. A lot of hockey enthusiasts have played there, and he did a very nice job representing the town, and it was I'll watch it again. You know, Deputy Mayor Kirkby was kind of the star of the show. He's in there quite a bit because they talk about the Leo, and he was a coach in the tournament. So it was well done, and I'm hoping it gets us some notoriety or even gets us some exposure. It'll be fun to see. And that's all for me. So I'm gonna go this way, and Councillor Young, you're up first. You're welcome.
First thing, the town Prescott, the Economic Development Invest Prescott newsletter is out. It came out September 1st. It's jam-packed full of great information, so I encourage everybody to have a look for sure. I attended the final Sunday concert last night. The committee got a well-deserved standing ovation, so it was nice to see the committee themselves get that. The South Grenville Chamber had an after 5 that we went to on August 21st. with the Village Suites Airbnb above the Village Pantry in Spencerville. So that's another great asset for our South Grenville community. What else did I do? The BIA Special Events Committee have started planning for Halloween Town and Small Business Week. The Leeds Grenville Greatest Entrepreneur Competition closes on September the 6th. So if you need any information, Dana is the person to talk to. The Lighthouse Visitor Center will stay open on Saturdays throughout September. And then Mayor Shankar and Councillor Young and I attended the Riverwalk Foot Care opening on August 27th. So we're happy to have another downtown business at 235 Water Street. Play It Star has relocated with Voice to Net on King Street. And Polished by Page is a new business at the Glitz location. The Historical Society's Prescott Junction Heritage Plaque unveiling will be September the 20th, so that's coming up. And finally, Porch Fest 2.0 is going to be coming again on September 27th. Thank you.
Sorry, what was that, September 20th?
7th.
No, sorry, the thing before that.
The unveiling for the Prescott Junction Heritage Plaque, September the 20th.
Right.
I think at 2 p.m. At 2 p.m.
Thank you, Councillor Young. Councillor Britton.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. I just want to welcome all the students back. We're going back to school tomorrow. And of course, the teachers are probably really super excited to be back as well. I did want to mention through the ACTAV newsletter some anniversaries for our businesses. Renegades was 3 years, Property Guys, it's the 8th year, Your Family Dollar, 22 years. Miss Vicky's, hard to believe, it's already first year anniversary. Just wow. And the wrap up of Shakespeare and a great crowd for the community shows, the Songs on the River too. So another library meeting coming up.
Great.
As well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Campbell.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. The Fire Admin Committee is meeting tonight. That's the conflict we get when there's a holiday Monday. So I will get all their information for our next meeting. But from the past meeting, 3 members are taking the Firefighter 2 training. And if you read the information package, there's a lot of municipalities and communities that are trying to become exempt from this training, but we're taking it on full force and our firefighters are training away. So it's good to see. Fire department participated this past weekend in both Cardinal and North Augusta Labor Day raids. And the fire ban was lifted for the town of Prescott on Friday, August. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Campbell. Deputy Mayor Kirkby.
Through you, Mayor Shankar. I really didn't attend as much as everybody else around the table. I did attend the Leo night. We actually also ran a bar for the group. And again, part of the row raising money towards their pledge to the Lane Chartrand Community Center. A couple notes is that all the streets south of the tracks have been trimmed, so the grass along the sidewalk was all trimmed and swept. 2 new panels of sidewalk up on West Street, right by that new addition last year there. East Street reconstruction, so the installation, underground connections are all complete. Curb and sidewalk paving starts over concrete work starts next week. And then for anybody that hasn't been by the Seymour Recreation Complex, pickleball courts, tennis courts, basketball courts, and the skate pad have all been poured. And the walking loop, so it looks pretty good up there. Really, really shining for sure. So it'd be great to see that come to completion. I'm sure we'll turn a lot of heads in. Great work. So,
Yeah, very nice. Thank you. It looks good. I've seen people posting that they're walking on the walking track already. At least they're not driving on. We had that a week ago, 2 weeks ago. There was someone took their truck for a spin on it.
Oh.
So we had to put the concrete blocks there. One thing I didn't mention is we did have a Minister Nina Tangria visited town, and it's part of that newsletter. And then we have another one coming September 10th, the next Wednesday. for the Wellington House. So I think the invite's been out, sent out. Okay, thanks, everyone. No outside boards, committees, or commissions tonight. So we're going to move on to staff report 57-2025, the Prescott branding and marketing strategy. So first things first, we're just going to do the motion and then we'll hand it over to Dana there. So the motion is that council endorse the branding and marketing strategy and messaging framework produced by Alphabet Creative and direct staff to implement the recommendations. So can I get a mover and seconder? Councillor Burton, Councillor Young. Dana, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Shanker, through you to council. So we have an exciting report to bring forward tonight. This is a culmination of several months of work that's been going into the development of Prescott's new branding and marketing strategy. We've been very lucky to work with Alphabet on this project, a highly qualified firm that has created some really successful strategies for a number of municipalities to date. And we certainly hope to ride the coattails of their success. And they spent a lot of time, a very comprehensive process was completed to work through the development of this and come up with the final recommendations. And project began basically, I'll take you through kind of the Coles Note version of this, and then Marley and Steve will present the exciting part. So I'll just provide you with a bit of an overview of the process to date and what brings us here tonight. The project began with a comprehensive brand discovery and audit process that was led by Alphabet Creative. This phase included council and staff consults, site visit to experience Prescott assets, and of course, Alphabet reviewed a lot of our existing marketing materials, websites, signage, and departmental brand assets. A lot of external research was also undertaken by the team, including a competitive scan of peer municipalities across Ontario, which we felt was a very important piece to ensure that we were competitive with what was trending in municipal marketing, especially for comparable municipalities with comparable offerings as well. And the stakeholder engagement process came next, which involved more than 30 interviews conducted with stakeholders, as well as 69 public surveys were received. And that really helped the team uncover some core themes, which have been identified in the report. First of which is consistency, essentially a need for unified logos, messaging. The observation was there was quite a bit of fragmentation. And then beyond the foretown, recognizing the value of that history and the importance of it, while still understanding that Prescott is about a lot more than a fort, and it's time to start celebrating some of those other assets. And transition, the town is certainly in a place of transition, as we can see with new businesses, investment coming into the community, tourism coming more online over the last few years. And the waterfront, that really was identified as the gem, the St. Lawrence being that core asset for tourism, cross-border potential, and really that kind of lead pad for all of the other marketing that's going to come to support that. So these findings definitely confirmed that the community wanted a brand that balanced the heritage with some progress, celebrating our local assets and achieving a unified message across tourism, economic development, and municipal services was also another critical piece, as expressed by stakeholders and our internal group as well that participated in the process. So we had a lot of input, as you can see, through council, stakeholders, and our senior leadership team comprised of department heads. And we participated in a lot of phases throughout the project, including early consultation, site visit, reviewing some of the key findings and analysis throughout, and really helping direct Alphabet's decisions when it came to what they were presenting and bringing forth for considerations tonight. So I'll just go through the brand strategy and messaging. This is really kind of the essential marketing for the community, the positioning and the brand promise and the pillars.
And this is really backed up by the visual that will follow this portion, but this is the part I think that you're really gonna see a lot of our marketing focus on moving forward. And there's a lot that can be done with this positioning and these pillars. And so I'll just take you through quickly. The positioning statement is Prescott Surprises. Brand promise, you're in for a surprise. And the brand pillars are Prescott Support, Service, Success, Shore, Sport, Spirit, and Scene. And we really felt that this captured all of those key assets that Prescott has to offer, whether you're an investor, a tourist, a resident. And they can really, there's a lot of flexibility when it comes to working with these across multiple departments, being economic development and tourism, community services, administration, fire, some of the other services that we deliver. There's a lot of room for buy-in, as well as external buy-in as well, which we're really excited about too. So the strategy also establishes some key performance indicators that will be used to measure the success over time. Some of these include brand engagement, the overall adoption across departments, resident attraction that we see, so growth in new residents and real estate activity, business attraction, being new business openings, fewer storefronts, and active engagement with some of the town support programs such as the CIP. And visitor attraction, increased year-round visitation, higher attendance at events, and stronger engagement with tourism marketing. And then that brings us to the visual identity. And as I indicated earlier, the waterfront was really that key piece that came out time and time again. And the nautical aspects of the community and the lighthouses as an asset that's a real identification piece for people when they come to the community. The lighthouse and the waterfront is something that really comes to mind first. So they really wanted to build off that. And I think what they've presented is, for us, very exciting. It has such a broad array of uses, and we've presented just a few examples of that tonight that Marley and Steve will really delve into a little bit more. But I think this logo, it really gives that blend of history as well as that modern flair, and really focusing in on what the true assets of the community are. And time again, that was the waterfront. And as you can see through the color scheme, that really also lends to that as well. And Marley and Steve will do a much better job explaining that than I can. Something that I did want to stress is we will keep our crest. So that is an important piece of for the municipality ongoing. That will not disappear, that crest that you see there on the wall. That will still be utilized in some of those corporate materials, you know, the chain of office, where it makes sense to utilize that. But the marketing side will transition into the new logo that you see presented today. So we're really excited to bring this before you, and hope that you're as excited as the team is. And as far as alternatives, we've just left it open for council to modify or decline to approve the recommendation. Financial implications, this was approved through the 2024-2025 budget in accordance with the RFP that was issued. We haven't experienced any overages to date, so we do anticipate staying on budget as far as that is concerned. And then there will be external funding that we will be seeking to support some of the brand implementation moving forward. There's certainly a lot to do when it comes to rolling out this brand. That will certainly require some subsidized funding wherever available. Environmental implications are minimal, aside from the fact that it will really focus on digital first marketing and integration. So getting away from some of the paper print-based advertising that we've done in the past, and really focusing more on some new digital mediums. And as far as the conclusion, we feel that the strategy provides Prescott with a cohesive, flexible, and future-ready identity. It captures the heritage, the waterfront assets, and the entrepreneurial momentum, while addressing some of the long-standing challenges that we've seen with fragmentation. And we really think it will provide a unified municipal messaging with resulting KPIs such as enhanced investment attraction and strengthening Prescott's positioning as a welcoming Riverside community of choice. And as I mentioned, the coat of arms will certainly be retained. And I also just wanted to note the importance of the involvement of council in this process. It's certainly been critical, and I wanted to commend council for initiating this, the marketing and branding strategy. This came out from the council strategic plan, and we were very excited to move forward with this. So thank you for taking that leadership. Happy to entertain any questions, or we can transition right to Marla and Steve's presentation.
Okay, any questions for Ms. Valentine at this point? Ms.
And
Campbell?
for you, Mayor Schenker, just, you had mentioned that the positioning statement was Prescott surprises, which I adore, but in your report, it says Prescott surprises you. So there's no you after that, right?
So it will appear in different forms, depending on the marketing material that we're using.
Okay, because the Prescott surprises is great, because surprises can be a verb or a noun.
Yeah. And that would certainly be the main thrust. The Prescott surprises you, I believe, would be more that supporting verbiage, but I would defer to Marley and Steve to expand on that. And maybe it would be best, sorry, to transition, to go to their presentation and then entertain.
Okay, thank you.
Because they can probably explain some of these, answer some of these burning questions that may arise.
That sounds good. All right, Steve and Marley, the floor is yours.
Are we able to share screen so we can control like when the next slides go? I see you just pulled it up. If that's not possible, that's okay, but
yeah, I'm pretty sure if you just hit share at the bottom.
yeah, okay. Yeah, I've got access. Awesome. Okay.
Well, thank you, Dana. You very eloquently explained all of that. So thank you for for that great intro. So nice to see most of, or if not all of you again. Steve and I had the pleasure of chatting with you as part of our consultation process at the beginning of this project. And as Dana said, we really kept this process very collaborative. We feel like that's a very important part of the brand process. We do that working with all of our clients in brand development with tourism organizations, municipalities, national associations. And we really do truly believe that brands are there to be uncovered, and that's where we come in. And we come in and we speak to the people of the place, and we understand what's happening in Prescott and what Prescott already has to offer, and shape that into a creative and strategic brand strategy and visual identity to help support what's already there and really showcase it in its best light. So I think we can probably, Steve, fly pretty quickly through these first few slides because Dana did touch on a lot of this already, which is great. Yeah, we've talked about our methodology. We, as you know, we spoke with many of you. We did stakeholder consultation with many residents, business owners, partners to the town of Prescott. We did some research in what Prescott already has, as well as a scan of other municipalities. Steve and I spent a wonderful day there with Dana and Justin exploring around. Had a fantastic lunch, and really got to experience Prescott firsthand and everything that it had to offer. And I won't go into these in too much detail because, again, Dana did touch on these. But out of that exploration, we did uncover these key themes. And so this is really important as part of this process because, as I noted, we're there to try and uncover what already exists, right? And so these are the things that we pulled out that were consistently spoken about over and over in the interviews that we did. And then we saw this firsthand for ourselves as well when we were there visiting and reviewing all of the assets that you currently have. And then Steve, I'll hand it over to you to talk about the brand.
Yeah, thanks, Marley. Yeah, and I mean, this was essentially the ask for the RFP, right? As Dana said, you know, the brand was a little bit fragmented. Everybody was using sort of slightly different logos. They were all the same, but not quite the same. So the ask was kind of to unify everything together, right? So it's the same place. We want to talk about that the same way. And we want everything to look the same as well, right? So everybody knows everything's coming from Prescott. It's kind of stronger together as a team. And we're actually recommending that everybody, all the different departments, use actually the same logo. And you'll see later on in the presentation how that kind of comes to life. Dana already mentioned this too as well, but I wanted to just kind of share a few stories. And Marley said something that I've shared, I think, with some of you and definitely with Dana. But we really believe at Alphabet that we uncover brands, right? So we're not inventing things. We're putting a layer on top of what we uncover, but it's truly through that, all those stakeholder sessions, all the collaboration with all of you and Dana and her team, is we really kind of bring the brand to life, right? So the positioning was Prescott Surprises, but I wanted to share just two quick little stories just to tell you how we got there, and that kind of helps set up everything else in the presentation. But there was Phil from our brew, the brewery for the pop-ups. He actually shared a really sort of powerful story as he was looking to do a pop-up for his brewery because his main brewery is not in Prescott. And he was looking at a whole bunch of different towns around. And Prescott actually wasn't even on the radar. He was looking at Brockville and I believe in a couple other locations. And he was just running into so much kind of red tape. And, he wasn't feeling that the fit was great with some of the people he was speaking to. And then I think someone mentioned Prescott, or he decided that he should check out Prescott. And he said as soon as he started to speak to anybody at Prescott, he just was super welcomed. Everybody was like, we'll do whatever we can to, help you get your business off the ground. Like, we're here for you. And he was like, I was so surprised because so many other towns, it was just like a headache to get anything done. So he was surprised on that front, how helpful everybody was and how smooth the process was. And he loved it, right? And then there was another person, Linda. She's the executive director at St. Lawrence Academy. And she said, I believe she had some family or friends who lived in Prescott, and she was still living in Manotick. And she had lived in Ottawa, I think, all of her life. And she came down to Prescott just to visit for the day. And she's like, I was so surprised sort of how relaxed I felt just along the water and how friendly the people were and just how great the place was, that she ended up moving to Prescott because just that one sort of trip and visit was so surprising for her. And she didn't really think of that, right? She was just kind of surprised by the overall place, right? So, the more and more, and those are just two small stories, pretty much everybody was kind of sharing these types of stories about Prescott. So we just felt the positioning of Prescott Surprises could apply to, and someone was just saying that, could apply to so many different things, right? It could apply to businesses and people living there, residents and visitors. And it can really mean anything to anybody, that it's really versatile to use. And it's also not like over promising, right? We talked about, we don't want this big glitzy kind of Las Vegas style tagline, right? Because that's not what Prescott is, right? So we felt that worked really, really well, and it felt true to the place. And I think, and I hope all of you like that as well. And I won't go through this too much because Dana spoke about this, but there's a whole messaging framework that goes along with this. So basically, the Prescott Surprises is the sort of top level positioning statement. And then when you get into the brand pillars of all these, there's kind of nuanced messaging about how you speak to Prescott Surprises. So going back to that unifying the brand, it's nuanced depending if you're talking to someone who wants to bring a business to Prescott, or someone who wants to move to Prescott, or someone who wants to visit Prescott. There's a nuanced language to that, but it all kind of ladders up to that main brand positioning of Prescott Surprises. And then we get into the fun stuff, the visual identity. So I'll just get right into the mark itself. So inspired by the Rotary Lighthouse, as Dana was saying, one thing that kept on coming up was just the access to your waterfront. Everybody loved that there was so much waterfront, that there's a beach right in town, that there's just, a lot of other cities cities and towns don't have that. So that's something we really kind of drew on for inspiration. So that is sort of the main kind of icon in the mark itself. And what we've done is we've modernized the typography. So we've kept, you can kind of see there's a little bit of a curve at the bottom of the logo. So we've kept sort of that nod to your previous logo, but we've updated the letter forms to be sort of a more modern font. But we've also kept the 1784 because, as Dana was saying, there is a lot of history in Prescott. We heard that time and time again. There's so many stories, the fort, the Shakespeare Festival. There's all these like historical elements, but there's so much more, right? So we still wanted to keep that balance of historical and modern. So we believe this mark kind of works really well of balancing all of that. Just a few kind of things to note. When you're making a logo, what you really want is that sort of flexibility and versatility, right? So You don't want something that's too complex in quite a literal picture of a lighthouse. You want something that's simple and it's going to scale down. So, whether you're using it on social media, or you're using it on a t-shirt or on a big banner, you want that icon to be able to be versatile across all those different mediums. So having sort of a simplified version of your Rotary Lighthouse works really strongly in that way. And the letter forms itself in the word Prescott, they've got sort of these rounded, friendly edges. That's another thing we heard constantly. And when Marley and I were down for the visit, and I subsequently went with my family probably a month after that, it's just everybody we encountered was so friendly. So the sort of rounded letter forms in the actual Prescott word itself kind of lend to that friendliness. And it also has a little bit of a almost like a handmade type kind of vibe that we feel really fit the town well. The next slide just kind of shows how it can work. What we always do is you want to make sure the logo can work on a dark background or a light background, just to ensure no matter where you're going to use it down the road, it's going to work. And we test all these contrasts for accessibility. You have to make sure that the actual color contrast works. So this is just showing how it works on both dark backgrounds and on light backgrounds. And then the next slide just gives you sort of an overall vibe. I won't get into all the details, but this just shows you how it kind of all comes together. So there's the logo, paired with some of your photography, the tagline Prescott surprises, or positioning statement, I should say. And then this is just giving you sort of a taste of where the color palette's going. So we've taken sort of your existing colors and we've tweaked them a little bit to be a little bit more vibrant and current. So the idea being that this whole color palette is able to be used, but you'll see later in the deck, depending on which department, we're going to have sort of a hero color for, say, economic development, or a hero color for community services. So then when you start to see those out in the wild, they'll all have their sort of main color, but everybody uses the rest of the palette. And I should note, the main sort of color palette for tourism is we're really pulling on this blue background color, just to sort of highlight that waterfront vibe. And then we get into some of the examples. So these aren't necessarily final artwork, but it's just to show you that, once it's applied to something, how does that look, right? So here's some street flags. So these are actual photos from the photo library that Dana provided us, but you can see how you can use some of the different colors from the color palette. And then we actually developed this little device that's actually the bottom or top, actually it's the same thing, of the lighthouse, but it works really well to, like, on a flag or something like this, where there's almost like a little bit of a pointing thing where it's like Prescott and it's pointing to the photography. So it just adds a little bit of extra design flavor, just a little bit of extra intrigue. But we feel like that works really well across the board, and it just helps sort of highlight the photography. And then, as we do with all of our brands, we make sure that, okay, it's great to be able to have it to work on a flag or on a social media thing, but, there are some practical applications, such as like a municipal truck, right? So we always just test, make sure that it's legible and works well on there, and we feel that it does on this one. And then on the next slide, you'll see, so this is what I was talking about earlier about having something that's simple for digital applications, right? So you don't want a really complicated or detailed icon, because when it comes down to, say, using it, and this is probably huge on your screen there, but if you can imagine like an icon on Instagram, it gets quite small on your phone. So that's why we want to have a simplified icon version. And we wanted to just show you that you can pull out that icon of the Rotary Lighthouse and use it as your profile photos. And because it's always paired with the Town of Prescott text on these platforms. So then that really kind of gives you the flexibility to be able to use that in really small applications and still kind of have the integrity of that icon be in place. And then on the next slide, this is where I was mentioning at the very beginning, where we're actually recommending that every different department uses the exact same logo. So some place brands will have like say Prescott, and then they'll have little kind of text underneath like economic development, or they'll have a slightly different logo for the recreation thing, which is sort of the path that Prescott went down before with all the different logos for all the different things. We're actually recommending stripping all that back and being really, really simple, and every single different department uses the exact same logo. So we're recommending that for a couple reasons. It's just a lot easier to implement. But if you think about a place such as Prescott, everybody, it's the same place, no matter if you're a tourist or a business owner or a resident, right? The things that make Prescott ring true to all those people. So we want to make sure everybody's kind of pulling together using the same thing. So what we're suggesting, as I mentioned when I was talking about the color palette, is that each of those areas can use a different hero color. So like, for example, for recreation, they can lean on the sort of purpley pink color. It's nice and vibrant. So you'd pair that with, you know, this is just example headlines, but winter programs, and then the actual call to action and URL can just be /recreation. So, or if this is an ECDev example, you know, it's the greeny blue kind of color is the lead color. And again, you can still use the secondary color palette, but then the actual text, you know, build your business, prescott.ca/invest. And then for tourism, you know, this is a diving example. Prescott Surprises, explore as the URL, and then, you know, either the blue or the burgundy is the hero color. So everybody's kind of working together, because the reason why someone may want to move their business to Prescott is the same reason that someone is probably, you know, looking to do a day trip visit, right? They all want to know the sort of same things about Prescott. So we feel that using the same sort of system, the same logos will actually be stronger for everybody involved. And then the last example is just to show, I believe this is one of your, you know, newsletters that gets sent out. Again, just another kind of practical example to stress test the logo, to just make sure that it looks right on something sort of, you know, as a newsletter like this. So we just mocked it up on that as well, just to give you an idea of what that could look like. And yeah, that brings us to the end. Well, if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer. I don't think you have our next step slide in the, I don't know if you can see my screen, but I don't think you have that PDF version, but I don't know if you want to talk about this, Marley.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Steve. Yeah, so just quickly before maybe we get into questions or comments, in terms of next steps, so ultimately the goal of this meeting is to get final approval on the direction of the brand as we've just presented. And then from there, what we do is we take that and we actually create a brand guide or a brand book that will be used and shared with all partners and departments that will be involved in the implementation and future use of the brand. And that really serves as, we call it like your brand Bible. And so this will outline like how do you properly use the logo, colors, fonts, all of those more technical components of the brand that anyone implementing will need to know. And then from there, we, as Dana mentioned earlier, we'll be providing some recommendations just in how the brand can be implemented in the most effective way, and some marketing strategies that Dana and her team will be able to take forward to actually bring this thing to life. So that's everything that we have to show. And if anyone has feedback or questions, we're happy to take them.
Great, thank you, Marley. I'm gonna open it up for questions. Everyone, there we go. Deputy Mayor Kirkby.
Through you, Mayor Shankar. I know that the core themes were just kind of used to start the process. Is that correct? And then will the core themes kind of carry on through? And the reason why I ask that is what I see is beyond the Fort Town. It's a place full of history, arts, and culture, and small business. It provides a slow down, affordable lifestyle. One of the biggest things missing there is recreational opportunity. And I mean, the town of Prescott punches above its weight on the opportunities for recreation here in town. I mean, we are offer more than most municipalities that neighbor us. And I would go as far as saying we offer more than Brockville. And a lot of them recreational opportunities are at no cost or at low cost or right on par with the neighboring municipalities.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that we did hear some people speak about that in our sessions. I'd have to look back at our key findings report because that's really just a very quick snippet of the full verbiage that's in that report. But if recreation is not specifically included, that can absolutely be added. Those are really just intended to be guiding principles that can be grown and expanded on along with the place.
Okay. And then my next comment will probably seem unpopular with some, but the symbol to me, right, is a point that I have a tough time with, I'll be honest. If I didn't know, and I was looking at the Prescott 1784, I may think that's a spinning top or various items. It's not clear to me that it's a lighthouse, and I'll be honest, I'm very sensitive on this subject because we had another previous project where, you know, we thought it would be obvious and it wasn't obvious. And to me, this is just not obvious of what it is. And so I'm wondering, although I've heard the message that we need to keep it simplified, is there a way to incorporate the actual body of the lighthouse so it's known that's what it is?
Yeah, we explored having a full lighthouse in. It does get a little bit busy, but if that is, you know, sometimes to your point, like if that's not obvious to a lot of people, then that's something for sure that we can address. You know, these design iterations are collaborative, so we're totally up for exploring different options for sure. We did try a couple options with a full lighthouse and it was getting busy, but that's not to say we've tried everything.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're focusing on the rotary lighthouse because I mean, that's the biggest lighthouse, but when we go and take a look at the picture of the lighthouse, the smaller one at the end of the marina, you know, kind of has that rock base and a little bit of body. You know, it's easy to tell, oh, that's the lighthouse. You know what I mean? So for me, that's a big one. It's I just don't want to go through another symbol or something that, you know, the general public doesn't understand what it is. I feel like it needs to be, when they look at it, they need to know that's what it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Sorry, Councillor Campbell, then Councillor Burton.
Through you, Mayor Shankar. I fully support Justin's comments, and I'm glad he said it first because I wasn't sure how I was going to say it. But we did have an issue with another lighthouse logo that no one understands in town. To me, that looks like a helmet or a spaceship. So if it could be rejiggered a little bit, I would be interested in seeing some different designs on that. Having said that, I just adore what you've come up with the Prescott surprises and the pillars. It's remarkable. And I remember when we hired you guys that I was very impressed with your critical path and how you're going to give us results. And so thank you for that. You've done a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Burton.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. Thank you for your presentation as well. I love the wording, the discoveries, the lifestyle, the potential. It's unexpected. That is perfect wording, in my opinion, in there. The lighthouse logo. Is there some way we could, like, I totally agree with Councillor Kirby's first comment about the logo. Is there something that we could put in the background and have Prescott come forward a little bit, if you know what I mean?
Yep, yeah, for sure. Yeah, we can definitely explore. Does anybody have the previous bad lighthouse? Because I'd love to know what not to do, but if that's not
It's
I think you're.
it's on our water tower. Yeah.
okay. But yes, we for sure can explore, and that's actually kind of one of the versions we had was extending the lighthouse kind of below the word as well. So the word was kind of sitting over top. So we can for sure explore that as well. Like I think we could keep the sort of general vibe of this logo, but maybe make it a little bit more lighthousey, for lack of a better term.
And I think, thank you, Shaker. I think what Councillor Kirkby said about recreation too, it's huge in our town, and I think that's one of the key things that is missing. Beyond the Fort comments that Justin Kirkby said as well. And because we do have tons of things to offer from little ones to adults. I think it should be noted in our core themes. But, I love the different colors that we're using as well. And I love how it says, you know, support, succeed, success, sports, scene. I love all that as well. So thank you.
Councillor Young?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. I agree too with my fellow council members. If we could just maybe that icon, just maybe work on that a little bit. But my question that I did have about that is that should a third party be able to, is it important that they understand and they know what that represents? Like,
Yeah, I mean, we always say, you know, a logo is just the starting point of your story, right? So if that gets someone intrigued enough to, you know, go to your website or check out your town, that's one thing. I would say there is a balance of that, though. If no one ever understands that it's a lighthouse, well, then maybe it should be a little bit more obvious. But I don't think we need to go, like, I feel strongly that we don't need to go quite full literal lighthouse. I think maybe we can just extend it a little bit or just play with that a little bit. So it's you know, it's still a simplified icon of a lighthouse to get that across. But to answer your question directly, I don't think it really fully matters if every single person understands that it's a lighthouse, because it's just it's one part of the brand, right? It's always going to be accompanied by other verbiage, and it's just the start of your story.
okay. And do you think, like, is it important, like when you showed the banner, is it important that we use local photography as in residents of Prescott in the messaging?
Yeah, we're big believers of having you know, local authentic photography and actual people in the photos. You know, we had spoken to Dana a little bit about that, to have sort of people enjoying the things that Prescott has to offer, because a lot of destinations, what they'll do is they'll just take photos of attractions or, you know, parks or things, instead of having actual, it could be residents or whoever enjoying those things. That connects, when people see people in photography, that connects so much better. So yeah, we're big believers in that.
Okay, and just sorry, one more question. And by the way, I loved everything. It's great. In terms of us seeking external funding, are there more things that you can offer us that possibly we could tap into if we are successful in getting more funding?
Absolutely, yeah. Like you mean like in terms of implementation of the brand and how to move it forward? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at Alphabet, we are really a full service agency and consultancy. So we really love to work with our clients on actually bringing the brand to life once it's complete. So we offer services from like creative design and production and campaign development and web and digital development services. So we're here and available to help you folks however you need.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you, Councillor Young. Marley, I do have a quick question. On our presentation that we have, there was a logo exploration page where it just says Prescott, almost like with a speaker, maybe? Is that something that was looked at, or is that part of the promotion?
Yeah, actually, sorry,
Right there.
Steve, maybe I'll let you
Yeah,
take that
I
one.
can speak to that. Yeah. That was just as part of the process. You know, there was other versions of the logo, so we kept that one in if we wanted to speak about it. That's actually meant to be a lighthouse beam. So just given this conversation, I feel like that's way too vague. So yeah, that was just one of the other options.
All right, and secondly, my other question was, so instead of having like Prescott Recreation on their shirts, they're just gonna have these colored logos?
Correct.
Is that for the staff or for council? Like, how's the public gonna know that, oh, you're recreation because you've got a pink color to it?
Well,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean that's not to say that a shirt, say, could have like the Prescott logo on, the chest of it, and then it could say recreation on the back or something like that. What we don't want to do is have multiple versions of logos, right? So that's where it gets to you start to go down the same path that you got into before. So you could have, if it's important to have, big staff thing on the back or something for people working an event or recreation, then for sure that's something that can be done. It's just we don't want to have that baked into the logo itself.
So keep the logo clean.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, thank you. I love it. I think it's great. I think it's simple, but it stands out. And also with the Beyblade there, maybe we could change that up.
I think Councilman Connell has a
Oh, is it, where is it?
if maybe Alphabet could stop sharing.
Yes, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Councilor McConnell?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. My apologies for joining late. I couldn't seem to get connected here, but eventually it happened. I find myself agreeing completely with Justin's remarks and everybody else that agreed with him. When I looked through this afternoon, I didn't have a clue what that was on top of Prescott. And if I hadn't have had the verbal, well, not verbal, but the printed words that went along with it, I wouldn't have known that that was a lighthouse. I think maybe sometimes you can go too simple with things. And I was actually quite excited when we decided to go down this road because, as we all know, Prescott, the Fort town, has been our model for many, many years. And the Fort has been the predominant thing on our skyline for many, many years. But starting back in the 70s, when previous councils decided to accumulate riverfront property and keep it, successively, the riverfront has become our focus. And in my walks down along the water now, it's incredible the number of people you meet from out of town who are so impressed with our riverfront. People from Brockville coming down here to walk because our waterfront is so nice. So I agree completely with getting away from the fort, and I agree completely with going with the lighthouse. Unfortunately, as everybody has already said, I don't think that lighthouse cuts it. The other thing I think is a little simple, 1784, Prescott 1784, when I see that, well, okay, what is it? What does it mean? The established 1784, I think, makes a little more sense. So I would like to throw that back in there. But honestly, when I read this over this afternoon, I was hoping for a stick of dynamite. And what I found, my impression was more like a firecracker. The Prescott surprises, I just didn't get at all. It just didn't seem to be what I was hoping for, what I was expecting. However, with the explanation that came from the folks that have presented tonight as to how that surprises came forward, I think I have changed my mind and I like the surprises thing, and I think we can do a lot with it. So I agree the lighthouse has got to be changed, but I think it's a way forward, and I think this is a good place to start. Thank you, Mayor Shankar.
Thank you, Councilor McConnell. Any last questions? Because I have an idea from our clerk that we have a motion on the table, but maybe what we'll do is we'll defeat this motion and have a new motion. Does that sound good? All right. So let's just call the question on the first motion and defeat it, and then we'll move on to the next motion. Does that sound good? All right, so I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Sorry, we're on a motion that we're going to implement their strategy as is.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So we're going to defeat that perhaps. So as I said, all in favor, there's nobody opposed? Everybody. Okay. So that's defeated. So now we have a new motion. Oops. The new motion is that council endorse the branding and marketing strategy and messaging framework produced by Alphabet Creative, including feedback comments, and that council direct staff to work with Alphabet Creative to incorporate the lighthouse to the visual identity logo. Sound good? So initially, I think I had Councillor Burton and Councillor Young. Would you guys do that again? Okay.
Councilor McCall, was that?
I have a question, sir.
I do, Mayor Shankar. The way that motion is written, is that going to be coming back to council for further approval, or does this just approve staff to go ahead and develop it without council input?
Through you, Mayor Shankar, the way that I've drafted it, Councillor McConnell, is that it would re-rise for council's final approval, only endorsing and directing staff at this time.
Okay, that's fine. That's what I was hoping for.
All right. No further questions. I'll call the question. All in favor? For this new one?
I didn't know if we needed to move.
We do. We have the same.
Okay.
Pass. Thank you. Thank you very much, Steve and Marley. We look forward to seeing your next logo and everything like that.
For sure.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye now.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next staff report is 58-2025 building and bylaw Q1 and Q2 updates. This is for information only. So, Mr. Merriman, the floor is yours.
Sure, your worship. Yeah, so the first half of 2025, both building and bylaw, there's been a lot of interesting stuff going on. In the first half of the year, of course, bylaw was only supported by casual inspectors until the appointment of a full-time officer earlier this year. And between January and June, the department issued 83 parking tickets, of which about half of them were winter control. We processed 187 animal tags and responded to 54 service requests, which resulted in more than 100 site visits. Again, the primary areas of concerns follow the historical trends of property standards at 17. Tree-related files were 8 files and animal controls were 6 files. Now that the department has a full-time bylaw officer's priorities for the balance of 2025 include stepping up the 2-hour parking enforcement in the King Street area, enhanced animal control efforts and making sure that animal tags are being purchased, and enforcement of the vacant building registration. There'll be also efforts to review and update the various bylaws. In contrast, the building department, though, has been a little slower at the start of this year. In fact, as of June 30th, we only had 26 permits issued and represented only about $1 million in construction value in the town. However, since the Wellington House got issued last year, that has certainly kept the department still busy regardless. And we had to issue 7 orders to comply due to fire-related activities that occurred during the winter months. The department has also begun the third quarter with a lot of momentum. So, in fact, I can actually say that all of these now have been issued except for one renovation to an industrial space. All the 4 new apartment units going down on top of the H&R Block building. That you're aware of, 4 new townhouse units over on Henry, and the Habitat for Humanity project is a go along with the grocery store. Permits and related revenue are projected to reach approximately half of what the recent year's values. However, any shortfall will still be covered by reservations from the previous year's surplus. And also due to the fact that I'm being shared with Edwardsburg Cardinal, it's generating additional revenue that wasn't anticipated for the department. There is no alternatives, and the impact is something that we'll keep, me and Matthew will keep an eye on and adjust accordingly as needed. And if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Merriman. Any questions for Mr. Merriman?
A few comments. The first one, Sean, is the 54 service requests. that resulted in more than 100 site visits. That's the property standards, tree related, and animal control. Is that examples?
Yeah, those are all part of it.
Yeah.
I understand this, although we may get 54 requests,
Right.
some of them are dealt with so quickly that we don't create a file. Out of those requests, we made the following files, and these were the 3 biggest items that were on it. Any that were created extra hit and miss, oddball things that, come and go.
And so then I would just like to make a comment that, I mean, we're well aware that the town now has a full-time bylaw officer. And I'll be honest, the feedback that I've received myself has mostly been positive. And I think it's important for council and staff to hear these kind of things, because a lot of times you only hear the bad side of it from the people that got a ticket. But, there's been a lot of enforcement on irregular parking, parking on the wrong side of streets, blocking driveways, and a lot of people would think, well, it's no big deal until it's in front of your house, right? Or until it affects your life, right? And so I think it's great that we have a bylaw officer. I think if we're gonna have bylaws, then it makes sense to have a bylaw officer out there enforcing it. And I'll relate it back to my personal life, which is soccer and hockey. I do a lot of. And at the start of both seasons, we have rules that need to be enforced. And some of that actually happens by doing the walk and enforcing them rules. Because if we didn't, it would just be a total mess. People wouldn't follow the rules that we have in place. So I think the bylaw has been great. I'm very happy and pleased to see our new bylaw officer out and about. When I see him, I always give him a thumbs up. I don't think he knows who I am, but in my head, I'm like, keep up the good work. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Burton and then Councillor McConnell.
Just a comment too about the bylaw officer. I'm sure he's going to be around the school zones. So just a heads up, everyone, that they're going to be around school zones, and if you're not parked in the appropriate spot, you may find yourself getting a ticket.
Regardless if it's only for a minute.
Yeah.
People be forewarned, we have a bylaw officer.
Yeah.
Councillor McConnell.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. Sean, I'm not sure whether you can comment on this or not. And unless something has changed in the month that I've been away, the row house east of St. Lawrence Academy on James Street East has been a source of many comments to me when I've been out in the street. People want to know what's going on. Is it going to be cleaned up? What's happening with it? Is that something that you know about and can comment on or not?
Through you, your worship. I can advise that the insurance companies have advised that they've completed their investigation. I am expecting permits any day now for the demolition of all 6 units. Unfortunately, none of them could be saved.
Well, that's pretty much what I was looking for. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor McConnell. No further questions then. I thank you, Sean, for your report. Look forward to the one coming up in probably January. All right, next is staff report 59-2025, analysis of Bill 5, Protecting Ontario by Unleashing Our Economy Act. This is for information only, so I've got Tim Fisher, our planner. You've got the floor, sir.
Thank you. Through their Mayor. So I've been asked to look at Bill 5, and this is in regards to a letter council has received from North Grenville, who has made a recommendation or a resolution in regards to some of their concerns in the proposed changes that Bill 5 has made. So our report that has been provided to you kind of details some of the changes for some background information, and also goes into what the changes can potentially do, and then what impacts, if any, would have on the town itself. So talking about the background of Bill 5, so Bill 5 was introduced earlier this year It gained royal consent June 5th. The whole point behind this is to protect Ontario's economy. I guess the hope behind this is to speed up the process of development and using our resources that we have in Ontario and really focusing on that potential development and being more self-sustained in Ontario and also sharing that wealth in all of Canada type thing. Now, the changes have come through the environmental planning process. There's also been changes to the Endangered Species Act with like a new framework that reduces protections for at-risk species and also enables the creation of special economic zones that may override local planning authority and environmental oversights. Again, all this has steered because of kicking off the province economy into high gear because of the trade wars between Canada and the US. Now, as I was saying, the intent of this is to speed up our economy by reducing the restrictions on major projects and also special areas through establishing these special economic zones. The changes are receiving quite criticism for a variety of reasons by other provincial agencies, municipalities, environmentalists, Indigenous groups, and many other associations pertaining to land development and also rights. As the creation of the special economic zones will remove the rights to consult with Indigenous groups and remove all rights from local rules and regulations. That is, to me, is a scary step. What would happen here is if the ministry deems a project to be not moving forward and it's in regards to our natural resources or they feel is a major project in regards to infrastructure, that sort of thing, they will create a special zone and what would happen there is they would not have to follow any local municipal rules or regulations. They can fast track that project by determining on their own basis what should and should not be applied. So that they can override things like archaeological assessments, environmental reports, that sort of thing. So things that typically were required to protect certain natural heritage features, that sort of thing, that we have typically have enforced through our official plans, they would just be thrown out the window, unfortunately. Another major change in regards to this is mining projects such as the Eagle's Nest. The other one escapes my mind right now. The Ring of Fire, sorry. Those are two major projects that this could affect. Right now, those projects have been long going, just because of all the different factors that are involved and all the studies and that sort of thing. This act will actually strip a lot of those requirements away and could potentially handcuff, I guess, other municipalities in those areas or other groups, and would would actually see these projects just moving forward, just based on what the ministry wants. Now, in regards to some of the changes in the act, we are looking at the Endangered Species Act. That is actually going to be replaced, or actually is replaced now, with the Species Conservation Act. And unfortunately, that act, or that Conservation Act is, provides the minister with the powers to decide what species are actually going to be protected and also in which areas. So if they feel that a species should not be protected in a certain area, they have a right under this zone to overlook those species. So their review would be at their discretion, relying on voluntary registration at the discretion of the industry to register or intent to harm or potentially kill species. Another project that we could potentially see is that it exempts garbage dumps and mining projects from the environmental assessments, like I said. So you see these major environmentally sensitive uses that could potentially proceed without having the proper assessments done. It also exempts infrastructure, health, long-term care, and housing projects from archaeological assessments. Now that has been an ongoing issue with the ministry, with timelines and such. So maybe finding other ways, possibly to deal with archaeological assessments and the review and the turnaround times might be something to focus on instead of eliminating it. It actually will slow the development of renewable energy as a result of restricting foreign-made goods from participating in the Ontario electricity generation, such as using foreign components or devices. So the intent of this is to use Ontario-only, Ontario-only devices and components. However, if you look at the majority of that is being created out there, there's a large component that is offshore or outside of Canada. So the way that this is worded is that it has to meet a certain percentage to be considered Canadian, and if it's not, then you can't use it, or they're going to slow it down in some way. So, so although they're trying to create renewable energy sources and promote that, they're actually potentially slowing it down as well too at the same time. So, the other would be it also eliminates the public participation requirements in the Ontario Place redevelopment project. So that's been an ongoing project in Toronto. Seems like it's been going on for quite a long time. But this is one example of where, again, public participation is key for the development of Ontario Place. However, in order to move it forward, they could potentially make this a zone and then eliminate all participation or public participation in it. And again, certain studies and override local rules and regulations and just have the project move forward. And another aspect of this that is making a lot of waves is through the creation of special economic zones. It does override the provincial local laws, but it bypasses consultation and engagement with First Nation governments. You probably have seen a lot of First Nation governments speaking in regards to this, especially for the mining projects and everything up north. Maybe not as much in Eastern Ontario, but definitely in Northern Ontario. This is a major concern for them, that they would have their rights stripped in regards to potential development on their lands. But however, the government has stated that they will continue. However, the way it's worded is they don't have to. So in regards to the township, in reviewing the letter that that North Grenville provided, I do agree with their statements that they have made. In looking at what the bill has, in the changes has compared to the town, I don't feel that there are any major negative considerations in regards to potential impact to the town. However, as an example, if for some reason there is a mining project that, or let's say a waterfront project or something along the lines, right? The ministry all of a sudden feels that they want to be involved in, they can step right in at any time. So Bill 5 is a scary one, is a bunch of scary changes on this. And like North Grenville, their council made a resolution to state their concerns in regards to the changes of each impact here, and have asked that the ministry reconsider a lot of these changes that they have done. However, again, this is actually passed now, so it's kind of hard for the bill to go back. However, I think showing solidarity between municipalities may show a stronger force in the changes here. So like I said, impacts in the town, for our town, I don't see any major issues in regards to it. It's not going to change our economic growth or anything. It's not going to change our the way that we do business here or our rules and regulations. My recommendation here would be council can have two different resolutions here if they wish to move forward. One would be to support the resolution of council of North Grenville and provide a resolution, a letter in support. It's the same contacts listed in their resolution. Or council could consider also to provide their own resolution in response to Bill 5 and its changes, which are specific to the township of Prescott. Or sorry, the town of Prescott. However, those changes impacting Prescott are minimal. But I am happy to answer any questions or comments that you may have in regards to this.
Thank you, Tim. We have a couple of questions. Looks like Councillor McConnell.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. It's pretty clear to me that this is another attempt by Doug Ford, our provincial premier, to just run roughshod over any council in the province that he feels like doing. It's not what I've come to expect of my government as a Canadian, as an Ontarioan, or as a resident of Prescott, at least not until this term anyway. I believe that we should support North Grenville because, let's face it, Prescott is a small area, but we are surrounded by two large rural townships, which may run into problems with this thing, which could very well affect us in this town. So I believe we should object to this in the strongest terms possible in support of those other communities that have done so. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McConnell. Councillor Campbell?
After you, Mayor Shankar, I have a comment and a question. I'm not sure which to do first. I believe we should do your option 2 which would draft our own letter. I would ask, was it Miss Preston that wrote the letter about strong mayors, drafted that letter? So I would recommend that Miss Preston draft a letter for option 2, using the wording in the conclusion in this report that is before us, as well as I read a good letter from the town of Aurora, their resolution from July 15th, 25. But Miss Preston's letter about strong mayors got many favorable comments back about how well it was written and how it made sense. And if she could do that again, that would be great. So that's my thought on that. And then my question to you is, Tim, sorry. How would Bill 5 impact the environmental assessment process that we're going to go through for Churchill development? Because in your report, the last meeting, it cited endangering 2 bat species and 1 tree species. And I believe you said that for protected species at risk, it would come up in the site plan control, but council does not vote on site plan control. Only the bylaw process will deem endangered species or not, and how they will be protected or not. So does this Bill 5 have anything to do with what we're trying to protect or not over on Churchill Road?
Yes, through Mayor. Yes, this does have some changes in regards to the environmental assessments that are being done after the date that this has been enacted. Again, the changes are based on the species at risk. So some species have been removed, that sort of thing. So any new environmental assessment that's done from this point forward is based on the new policies that were put in place, which is the conservation environment, or what did I say here? Endangered species. Yes,
Protected species at risk.
exactly. The Species Conservation Act. So yes, it will change slightly, but it will not eliminate the need for an environmental assessment. So an environmental assessment is still moving forward for that. But it would be the recommendations that consultant would be bringing forward, and then we would be reviewing that. And then if we have questions in regards to if we know of certain species in that area, we can ask questions in regards to that. And they can look into it, but it's virtually the species that are in that list is what they're more or less mandated to look at. So.
And is it correct to say that council then does not get a crack at either saying maybe don't chop that tree down or?
Yes, that is correct. So through this process, through the site plan process, staff will be reviewing all the studies. And then what we would be bringing for information wise would be just the plan itself. And that would be brought forward to plan committee.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Kirkby.
Through you, Mayor Shankar. I have read over quite a bit of Bill 5, and I have a few questions and comments. So my first one for Tim is, in your presentation, whether you meant to or not, it kind of seemed very gloom, but there is some checks and balances. It's not just like they're throwing these species at risk out the window and they're never going to look at it again. There's still checks and balances in these projects. Is that correct?
Yes, you are.
So another one is, then so that's kind of what I read throughout the whole thing is, you know, where they are proposing to cut red tape, there's still checks and balances. It was almost like the strong mayors where there is some steps to get to, okay, well, we're gonna step in here and look the other way, for no better term, for the conservation or for environmental or talking to local municipalities like First Nations and stuff like that. Is that not also correct? They'll still have that conversation. And it's not every project, they're just gonna cut out the local municipality or the First Nations on them conversations.
So you are right. So, Mr. Mayor, what was said in the report, and I guess what was said in North Grenville's resolution is more of a general basis. So, so on a typical plan, what could potentially happen?
Right.
So kind of worst case scenario, right? But yes, you are correct. The ministry could come in, create a zone and say, okay, only one aspect is being an issue. We feel that that shouldn't be an issue. We're going to now take control of the project, bypass that, and we're going to apply our own rules and regulations. And as long as we meet those regulations that we're putting forward, then we can move forward with it. But it's not meant to step in for any project that's out there. So it has to meet a certain criteria in order for them to step in. So if it's something like Churchill, for them to step in on that, there is a slight criteria there in regards to housing. But it would be interesting to see if they actually would step in on something like that, because again, is it a major project? Is it a project that's tied to other things, you know? So it wouldn't be a carte blanche where it would be applied. Plus, if an individual feels that it should be applied, they can write to the ministry, and then the ministry would review to see if they want to take it to stuff. So it's not I think when somebody initially looks at this and reads what the act says, yes, somebody may think it's all doom and gloom. There are some changes in here that are positive, like in regards to the Heritage Act. There are some changes in here that allow for protection of artifacts and more inspections and the ability to inspect, that sort of thing. And there are some other little positives as well too. But again, it's the major changes that are happening here that you have to look at the whole picture, and the zone, the economic zone that they're looking at creating is a potential issue, especially not for us, but definitely, in Northern Ontario.
So, Northern Ontario, let's be honest, that's where a lot of minerals, that's where Ontario's, I guess, that's where a lot of our economic growth could explode for the next 50 years or ongoing. I mean, we've seen how our next door neighbor has kind of turned the light out on us and, pretty much pushed us out of the market or tariffed us. I believe that, the Ring of Fire and the Eagle's Nest is a big opportunity for Ontario to gain new customers, gain new market shares, and become a player on the world stage. If you think of Alberta, people think of oil and gas, right? Well, Ontario has tons of minerals. We have gas up there, stuff like that. So I think when I think about this, I think we're in a new generation now, and I think the change in government in the US has maybe forced us to look at some of these projects that have been bogged down by a butternut tree or a bat to say, there's a lot of red tape here and there's a lot of hurdles. And if we could think through a couple, we could get this project done. And when these projects drag on, it costs millions and millions of dollars, right? You can be sure some of the contractors love it, right? Because they pay for a bit of work, it gets shut down, they come back, they pay for a bit more work, right? And then there's a ton of consultants tied to all this, right? I mean, at the end of the day, the project will still probably go ahead, but will cost an extra $1 billion on a Ring of Fire or something like that. And I'm sorry, but that's the Ontario taxpayers that are going to pay for that, right? And I think, especially now, we need to find new economic growth as a province. I think about in Prescott, we go back to the archaeological rights. And I think when we built the new OPP station on Prescott land, there was some bones discovered there, which then started a whole process. And I believe that cost the town back then, I believe, an extra $100 and some thousand, which employed 2 summer students from the University of Ottawa to come down and sift through sand. And if I'm not mistaken, any development in that area now has to somewhat be approved by the First Nations group in Cornwall. So, you know, I think there's a lot of red tape there, and maybe Matthew like to jump in and state if I'm wrong on that.
So a number of studies have been done delineating the area. We would have to follow our normal process when it comes to development in that area, but there's no special requirement.
Yeah. And so, you know, for me, I think like this isn't just a clear cut, we're going to go in and build everything and throw out all kinds of acts. It's where we get to these big projects and there's a bunch of stumbling blocks and we need to eliminate some to make the project go, right? And I'm sorry, but I feel like for myself, I'm not on board with opposing Bill 5. I see it as the chance for Ontario to become an economic giant for minerals and resources in Canada and in the world. So, thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Kirkby. Anyone else? Councillor Young?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. There's a lot of information to absorb reading everything in the press and everything else, and I think the goal is really clear and understandable and everything else. And I think the Indigenous people too, they're on board with wanting economic development. The only fear that I see they have is that once you override the laws and the red tape, so to speak, or the regulatory framework, it removes that trigger for consultation. So because that framework was there and that duty to consult with them was there, they had to do it. And I think all they want to see is themselves be at the table. They just want to be a partner and they want to be consulted. And I don't think that it's to stall anything. I think they just want to feel part of the solution, for want of a better word. So I just think it's really important that that they're consulted, the Indigenous people and the host municipalities where the special economic zones are created. I think it's important that they have a say as well, and not to stall anything. But I think on the flip side of that, I've heard some people say that, you know, once you're overriding provincial laws, if there are people that don't feel part of it, they may react by litigating and then holding up these great projects for a lot longer. So I just think it's really important that everybody have a seat at the table, I guess, at the end of the day. But I do, I can't see the government running roughshod over, like, making all of these, you know, ridiculous decisions, but we'll have to see. That's my comment.
Thank you, Councillor Young. You have a rebuttal? Or Tim, you want to say something? Okay, Deputy Mayor Kirkby, then Tim.
Yeah, I would just say, I think, you know, everybody needs a seat at the table, but sometimes there's too many seats at the table to get anything done. So that's just my comment, but thank you.
Great. Tim, did you have a follow-up?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Just so you're informed, so the Planning Act right now does have a mechanism under lots of different processes for the minister to step in. So there's zoning regulations where if something's not moving forward correctly, the minister can step in. However, there are certain qualifications and steps and procedures that they have to follow. And I think in consultation, that definitely is part of the whole process. I think the scary part on this one, and I think a lot of people are concerned about, is the consultation process. I understand the other issues into trying to reduce the red tape in order to make these larger projects move forward. but like, the counselors here have stated, the consultation process is a big one. If you want to look at it, especially the indigenous people with the treaties and rights that they did have put in place. And if those are put aside and not followed, then that causes some major issues, obviously, for the indigenous peoples and what was agreed to for them. But if you want to look at it in the case of the town, if a project came through and the ministry says, let's say, I don't know, the fort, okay? We no longer want the fort, we want to do this, and we're just going to redevelop it, and we're going to create the zone, this is what we're going to do, and we're not going to follow your rules and regulations. I would feel that we should have at least a sit down and a say, right? And I think that's all that this process, that the concerns here are. There should be at least a consultation process with local government and with the local groups. And it could be a simple single meeting, but it needs to be a voice of reason for those areas to move forward. So.
Thank you, Tim. All right. So listen to everyone at the table. In my opinion is, this doesn't affect Prescott. I understand it does affect our neighbors perhaps. It's a bill it's been enacted now. There's not much we can do to change it. We can support or we can move forward. So we do have a recommendation from Councillor Campbell about writing our own letter. So we would need approval of council to forward that recommendation. So I'm going to call a vote on that. Is that the correct procedure? Okay. I was going to text you to try and ask you.
If council wished to do that alone, we would need a motion on the table with a mover and a seconder, and then the vote could be called.
Okay.
If you're looking to separate out, what I had grasped from the table, I believe if I heard Councillor McConnell and Councillor Campbell correctly, was a motion to support the resolution and letter adopted by North Grenville. There was the added direction to staff to draft an accompanying letter encompassing council's comments and feedback on Bill 5 with special consideration for the verbiage used by the municipality of North Grenville and specific consideration on consultation processes. And then the addedness of that a copy of the resolution and the drafted letter be forwarded to all of the people.
The alphabet.
Of people, including Doug Ford, Chief Clerk, and indeed all the other municipalities.
Okay. So, one sec. So should we read that motion?
Would you like me to?
Yes. Read the motion.
Okay. That the council of the town of Prescott supports the resolution and letter adopted by the municipality of North Grenville, and that council directs staff to draft an accompanying letter encompassing council's comments and feedback on Bill 5 with special consideration for the verbiage used by the municipality of North Grenville and specific concentration on consultation processes. And then a copy of this resolution and the drafted letter be forwarded to the Honourable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, Steve Clark, MPP of Leeds Grenville, for Leeds Grenville, Thousand Islands and Rideau Lakes, the municipality of North Grenville, all other municipalities in Ontario, and AMO.
Moved by? Would you like to move that motion?
Yes. Well, what I suggested was just option B and not support North Grenville. That's what I said. Sorry if you misunderstood.
No, that's okay.
But Councillor McConnell said the opposite.
They can be done in isolation.
Meaning two different motions?
Correct. If council only wants to consider drafting a letter encompassing council's comments and feedback on Bill 5 with special consideration for the verbiage used by North Grenville and specific concentration on the consultation processes, that could be an independent commission. And
Okay, hold on. I got Councillor McConnell, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I don't really have any problem supporting what Mary would like to do. The fact that we would draft a letter of our own, the same as we did with the last time, sort of indicates that we are not happy with the whole situation, as is North Grenville. So actually supporting their motion is kind of moot. It doesn't really matter. So I'm quite willing to change my suggestion there.
So we have a new motion without supporting Grenville.
which would be solely that council direct staff to draft a letter encompassing council's comments and feedback on Bill 5 with special consideration for the verbiage used by the municipality of North Grenville and specific concentration on the consultation processes.
Okay. You'll move that? Do we have a seconder? Councillor McConnell? Okay, so we have a mover and a seconder. I'm gonna call the question then. All those in favor? You're in favor? Okay, we got 3 in favor, opposed? So now it's tied, so that's defeated then, correct?
Correct.
Okay, all right. Thank you. We're gonna move on then to resolutions. 13.1 is administrative changes to bylaw 41-2024 and 42-2025. The motion is that council direct the clerk to make administrative amendments to bylaw 41-2024 to correct the legal name of the corporation of the town of Prescott and revise the loan number. And that council direct the clerk to make administrative amendments to bylaw 42-2024 or 25. That should be 25.
Nope, 24.
Okay, so it's wrong in the top one. To correct the legal name of the corporation of the town of Prescott, the revised loan number and disbursement figures. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Burton and Deputy Mayor Kirkby. Any questions about that? Seems like it's just an administrative thing.
Yes, going forward, we will.
Oh, Councillor O'Connell?
I'm a little unclear. We're changing the official name of the town of Prescott from to.
So, the two documents are in relation to loan bylaws that we passed in 2024. Infrastructure Ontario came back and felt that there needs to be a "the" in front of the corporation of the town of Prescott, even though there may be some dispute as to whether a "the" is official or not. But if Infrastructure Ontario wants it, then they're doing the loans, then certainly we can support that. They also provided the application number and then they transferred it into a different loan number. And so they just want that updated into bylaws.
So we're just adding the, is that right?
That is correct.
I missed that too.
I think we had a big debate over that. It should take up at least half an hour.
That would be appreciated.
Any further questions? All in favor? Carried, thank you. I'm glad that didn't take half an hour, Councilor McConnell. Okay, no bylaws, no new business, no notices of motions. There are 2 mayor's proclamations. All right. First one is Rail Safety Week. Whereas Rail Safety Week is to be held across Canada from September 15th to September 21st, 2025. And whereas 261 railway crossing and trespassing incidents occurred in Canada in 2024, resulting in 68 avoidable fatalities and 58 avoidable serious injuries. Whereas educating and informing the public about rail safety, including reminding the public that railway rights of way are private property, enhancing awareness of the dangers associated with highway rail grade crossings, and ensuring pedestrians and motorists are looking and listening while near railways and obeying established traffic laws will help reduce the number of preventable incidents. And whereas Operation Lifesaver is a public-private partnership that works with the public rail industry governments, police services, media, and communities to raise rail safety awareness. And whereas CN and Operation Lifesaver have requested municipal councils adopt this proclamation in support of ongoing efforts to raise awareness, save lives, and prevent injuries in communities, including here in the town of Prescott. Now therefore, I, Gauri Shankar, Mayor of the town of Prescott, do hereby proclaim September 15th to September 21st, 2025 as Rail Safety Week in the town of Prescott, and encourage all residents to be vigilant around railways and to share the rail safety message within our community. The second one we have is National Legion Week. Whereas the Royal Canadian Legion is Canada's foremost veteran support and community service organization with over 390 branches across the country and a membership of more than 89,000 members. And whereas the Royal Canadian Legion is a non-profit organization entrusted with maintaining the proud tradition of remembrance, honoring those who made the supreme sacrifice in defense of our nation in past and present conflicts, so that we as Canadians may continue to live in freedom. And whereas the Royal Canadian Legion continues to support and represent veterans of past and present, with many benefits resulting from the determination and commitment of its thousands of dedicated members at all levels of the organization. And whereas Legion branches across the province work together with their affiliated organization, the Ladies Auxiliary, to raise funds in support of the many programs within Ontario Command of the Royal Canadian Legion. And whereas millions of dollars are raised each year through the efforts of branches and their auxiliaries, supporting numerous programs that benefit veterans, seniors, and youth within our communities. And whereas the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 97 in Prescott has faithfully served our veterans, their families, and the community through advocacy, service, and remembrance. Now therefore I, Mayor Gauri Shankar, Mayor of the town of Prescott, on behalf of council, do hereby proclaim September 21 to 27, 2025 as National Legion Week in the town of Prescott, and encourage all residents to recognize, honor, and support the vital work of the Canadian Legion, Royal Canadian Legion. Thank you. All right, any media? No. So we're going to move into closed session. We're going to move into closed session at 7:46 p.m. to discuss matters pertaining to closed session minutes, letters of intent for municipal property, and potential litigation. And that the CAO, treasurer, deputy of admin, clerk, economic development officer, municipal planner, and deputy clerk remain in the room. Can I get a mover and seconder? Sorry.
Will you, Mayor Shankar, would you allow me to read the sections of the Municipal Act for our
Sure.
coverage? Which is under section 239-2C, under the Municipal Act, acquisition or disposition of land, under section 239-2E, under the Municipal Act, potential litigation, and under section 239-2K, under the Municipal Act, plans and instructions or negotiations.
I didn't know you could do that for me. That'd be great. I should have got you to read the proclamation.
Just extra sure.
Thank you. So I need a mover and seconder for that, so we can go in. Councillor Young, Councillor Campbell, all in favor? Okay. We'll take a 5-minute comfort break and then we'll get back to it. Sorry about that. I skipped that.